Chief Investigative Reporter David Hammer. And David, you have been you've been on this since this morning as well. There's been a number of new information, things that are coming out minute by minute. What are you finding out?
Yeah, well, we're learning more now about the suspect in this terror attack, Shamsud-Din Jabbar. He is 42 years old. He was born and raised in Beaumont, Texas. And you see there on your screen, that's him in a video. He graduated from Georgia State University and talks in this video about how proud he was to have served in the U.S. military. Let's take a listen.
I've been here all my life, with the exception of traveling for the military, where I spent 10 years as a human resources specialist and IT specialist, where I learned the meaning of great service.
Here's what's interesting, because I've spoken to some folks who served with him. He was known to have been basically the top of his class as an IT specialist in the Army Signal Corps at Fort Gordon, Georgia. And so he was highly thought of for his work in his 10 years in the military service. And then he switched gears to make this video about his budding career as a real estate agent. And that's what he was doing in Houston, Texas until recently. And he made that video in 2020 touting his ability to negotiate, be a tough negotiator and get the best deals for his clients as a real estate agent. And now we've seen this video from Harris County, Texas, from Houston, Texas, the FBI in Houston and Harris County Sheriff's Office confirming that they're taking action at a cluster of trailer homes. And we looked at images from Google Earth and other sources of that area. There are trailer homes in that area at the corner of Crescent Peak Drive and Hugh Road. And that is, as Katie reported recently, the last known listed address for Mr. Jabbar.
Yeah, it's good to get those details. I know the FBI is probably doing the exact same thing that we're doing, and that is trying to piece together how, why, what may have motivated this person to just plow into people on Bourbon Street this morning.
Right, and you know, we talk about what might have changed from his time as a in his military service and as a U.S. citizen. You reported earlier that he voted in the 2020 presidential election. He was an engaged citizen, and then he was potentially radicalized to then end up being the person who the FBI says was driving that truck down Bourbon Street at a high rate of speed, you know, mowing down dozens of people, killing now at least 15, and having an ISIS flag attached to the back of the truck. And of course, we're now hearing that they're trying to establish what ties he had. He did not have any kind of extensive criminal record. He did have some misdemeanors, but this was not the typical profile for somebody who would have been a typical radicalized terrorist. And so now the part of what we're trying to put together is, how did we get to this point?
Absolutely. You know, in his service record, which CBS News obtained, he did serve time in Afghanistan and serve in the war over there through the U.S. Army. And so, you know, it is interesting to know that ISIS and the situation with ISIS was very much flaring up back at the time that he was serving in the military. So it begs a lot of questions. And
the people I've spoken to who served with him say that he was really talented, but that has nothing to say about where his, you know, allegiances may have turned after that point. He was a very talented IT specialist and an administrative specialist in the military. And then the question is, where did he turn to this, if this is in fact what we're seeing, and that it indicates that he had this ISIS flag on the truck and might have been representing radicalized Islamists.
Now, we do know from Houston, and I don't know if we can go ahead and pull up that live picture again that we have of the Harris County site, where the FBI has been combing through a home in Houston, which was his last known address. Let's see, there it is. That is the scene there. You can see military-style vehicles still out at that scene.
Right.
The house is a very modest house. It appears to be some sort of either trailer or manufactured home.
Right. Like I said, there are clusters of trailers on this property. There's also a main house on the property at that address. So what the relationship was, whether he had what his arrangement was to have had that listed as his residence is interesting, given that he had this, apparently some kind of a career as a real estate agent where he touted his ability to get good deals and things like that. So we don't know if this was his main residence or how this all played out in terms of ownership at this point.
Yes, and you could also, it also begs the question, obviously, the ATF has been involved. We know that there were pipe bombs and weapons found inside the vehicle. We do know that there were 2 improvised explosive devices found in coolers, at least according to the AP's reporting, that were placed in locations in the French Quarter. Makes you wonder if maybe they are combing through that site in Houston, if that may be where he may have assembled those improvised explosive devices.
And we also know a little bit about what happened in the St. Roch neighborhood at the Airbnb, the fact that a fire was called in about 2 hours after the incident on Bourbon Street, and the fact that it was incendiary and may have been set on purpose in order to cover tracks. That's what things appear at this point, but we can't say definitively that that was the case.
Now, we do know that from the AP's reporting about those explosive devices that there was also a remote found in the vehicle with him, which, who knows what that controlled. Could have been those ice chests that were found in the French Quarter, could have been something at the Airbnb. We just don't know.
And we also know that there have been identified an additional 4 people, 3 men and a woman, who were seen on video and potentially dropping these additional devices. That would play into some kind of additional action at the Mandeville Street property where the Airbnb was, if this was a coordinated effort.
Yeah, and we don't know. I mean, what's not clear in that situation is whether or not it's 4 people total. If he was one of those people that was seen on the video, maybe it was the day before, maybe it was 2 days before. We don't really know the timing on that, and we don't know if it's 4 including him or 4 additional at this point.
Right, and as you've said, we're trying to piece together so much. You can track one angle and still have a lot of ways to go on another angle that would tell us a little bit more about how this might have been coordinated versus, the background of this suspect, Mr. Jabbar, and who might have been associated with him. And we're starting to delve even more into that, and we'll try to bring you as much as we can, including a potential interview with people who actually knew him.
All right, David.